Okay. A question is, are there any wrong turns in life or just some unexpected paths? Now, this is a very interesting question. Consider this. So you have a plan for your life. You have a goal that you want to achieve, and you set on a certain path, and you're following that path. And now, when you construct that, or you design that path, or when you visualize that path, you want to stick to anything that's going to get you closer to your goals. That means you're not going. That it also means that you're not going to indulge in something that is going to pull you away from your goals. But that is only given that you understand what your goal really is. And how do we know whether the goal that we're after is a worthy goal? Sometimes it's not very clear. It's not very clear. You go along and it helps you fine tune into, or you just home in on a certain target, that this is what I want to achieve. And in the process, yes, there's going to be a whole bunch of zigzags. That means, no, you can't just look at a certain point, or you look at a certain star and you say, hey, you know what, I'm just going to follow this. It's right there and I can touch it. I can achieve it. The problem is, when we go after that star, by the time we get where we want to go, the star would have shifted. The metaphor does not say that the goal would have shifted. It's just that we might have taken a path that appeared to take us towards that goal, but it's not directly going towards that goal. And in the process, you end up discovering and learning a whole bunch of things. That this is not the right way, or this is not the best way of achieving what I really wanted. And when you discover that, you fine-tune your approach. You adjust your approach. You say, all right, you know what, that's good. So previously, your deviation from the path was about this big. In the zigzag, it was about this big. Okay. And then all of a sudden, you do, the deviation gets narrower and narrower and narrower. And now you're beginning to, home in on the path or the goal that you really want to go. The other point was, are there any unexpected paths just show up in front of you? Well, yeah, sometimes you don't have a choice. Okay, but in most of the cases, what happens is that we haven't explored all the choices. So you're presented with two options. It's like, hey, you know what? There's a crossroads here. So you either pick option A or option B. However, most of the times we don't know that there's an option C, D, E, F, and G, and a whole bunch of those options. So, and why don't we know that? Because sometimes we don't have the kind of information that we need to find out what additional options we have available. Another option that we usually have sometimes is to stay there and do nothing. Okay, so yeah, either stay there, do nothing, or go back. Now, these are the two options that we're going to try to stay away from as much as possible. Why? Because as we're progressing through life, the objective of our lives helps you move forward in life. Okay, so it does not prepare you to stay stasis, or just stay there and not move forward or backwards. Because once you stay in a certain state, something tells you that, hey, you got to improve upon this. You got to do something more. Okay? And I'm sure that everyone has that feeling. So you're presented with two paths. Why can't you see option C and D? Because you don't have all the time in the world, and you don't have all the information in the world. And you have only what we call a bounded rationality thing, that you have to make a decision within a certain amount of time. When you make that decision, sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss. If it's a miss, understand one thing, that you're ending up learning valuable lessons, very important lessons, that's going to help you survive in the future. Not just survive in the future, that may even become the thriving point for you in the future. So you acquire that grit, you acquire that knowledge, you acquire that information, you integrate that information, and now you're a much more informed human being who's going to progress through life and who's going to be much more adept at outlining and delineating a goal and going after that goal. When we look back at our lives, most of these wrong turns or unexpected paths turn out to be bad decisions in retrospect. In reality, they're not necessarily in most cases, they're not necessarily bad decisions. You didn't want anything bad to happen to you. You thought that this path would be a shortcut. You thought this would be a great adventure. It could be that you just got curious. It could be just that it was a temporary indulgence that turned into a habit. And in the process, you thought an opportunity was better than an existing path, and you took that opportunity. In the process, you ended up learning some valuable lessons. I'm not going to say it was a setback, okay? Because we can't guarantee that the original path that you were on is a sure shot way to success. It's hardly ever the case. Okay? So in life, we keep on, oscillating back and forth between two extremes until we kind of narrow in or home in on a particular path. And even then, there's always a variance. So don't be too harsh. We have to understand we're not too harsh. We're not too judgmental about what we perceive as life paths and so on. Because remember, with more information that we acquire, it makes us well equipped to address any issues or any problems into the future. And that's what is worth engaging in. A problem or a situation or a goal that we after as human beings, that's worth engaging in. What's the point of staying where you are and just crippling fear of the future that, hey, if I'm comfortable right here, if I have to leave my house, it's going to be a lot of chaos, it's going to be a lot of problem and so on. So no, we usually don't think like that, because again, there's always pain of regret that I did not take action when I was presented with an option. Okay, so either take A, B, C, or D, but do something, because the alternative is that we stay where we are and we don't make anything of ourselves and we don't end up improving our lives.